Engaging and empowering are two different concepts. So engaging means the employee has an emotional bond to the work that they're doing. Being a professor is a great occupation, and many professors are emotionally involved in the work they're doing because it's a very meaningful experience. Empowering means that the employee has the ability to make decisions regarding things that impact their work. So we'll talk about best practices in both of those areas in this particular chapter. Beginning with benchmark item number 54. Employee satisfaction surveys are conducted and results are used to inform continuous improvement efforts. So first you need to have the general mindset that all of life is a continuous improvement project. I'm a continuous improvement project. I reflect on my day, myself at the end of the day, and I say the following things I did great, the following things, I'm not so crazy about the way I behaved, and then tomorrow I'll do better in those areas. And you want to do the same thing at work and view the organization in the same way, that the organization should always be in a continuous improvement mindset, and every work unit should have that sort of a mindset. So you want to do that with employee satisfaction surveys. Present them to the employees to say that you're a good worker, you're a good person, we can always be better. So let's do these surveys, see how we're doing and how the work unit is doing. And when you do these kinds of surveys, employee surveys in terms of the work unit, you're asking them, when you give the feedback about them, always begin off with the best things. Our work unit is doing very good in terms of morale, and we're doing very good in terms of collegiality. And then you talk about that one weakness that you might have, and maybe we're not responding quick enough to our emails. That's a weakness that we have. And then you want to develop a strategy to say that maybe there's just Google 4 best ways to manage your emails, and then share that with each other, and then you improve relationships in the work unit. And you will only know that by surveying employees. Next, we have item number 55. Employees are passionate about their work and the organization. You can work in any organization, and usually right away you can have a feel for the energy level. And you're saying, are these employees excited about being here? Or are they saying, oh, it's Monday. I hate Monday because we have 4 more days of work. And then on Tuesday they come to work and they hate Tuesday because there's 3 more days of work. And then Wednesday they're complaining because the week has been so long. And that just doesn't make a good place to work. That's a low energy place. So you want to make sure that the employees are passionate about their work. And to be passionate about their work, you want to find out what is it that the employee is most passionate about. And you want to be able to match their individual passions to the tasks they perform. Myself, I'm very passionate about writing. I like to be by myself 3 hours every morning with my email system turned off, and I'm just writing, and I'm making continuous improvement like that. There's a lot of people I know that would hate that. They would just hate being alone for 3 hours just writing every day and thinking about writing every day. So in my case, I'm great to be a writer, and I'm passionate about my writing. So you want to match people's passion to the kinds of tasks that need to get done. Personally, I don't like doing a lot of administrative work. So I've turned down administrative jobs that are offered to me because I wouldn't be a happy camper. I don't mind doing a little bit of administration, but not a lot of it because I need time to write every day. And usually administrators have no time to write. So other people hate writing and they love administration. So those are the people you want to be your administrators. What are they passionate about? And you want to match them. Benchmark item number 56. Our managers request employee input on decisions that directly impact their work and work life. A lot of times managers can think, I know everything, and I'm just going to tell the employees about this change we're going to make. Maybe we're going to change compensation at work because money is low. We don't have as much income as we thought we have. So we're just going to reduce everybody's salary by 10%. And you're going to create a very bad morale situation at work. Instead, you can just ask your employees, by the way, we were expecting $100,000 in revenue. We only got $80,000. We have a $20,000 shortfall. We need to cut costs. How do you think we should cut costs? And some employees might say, given the emergency situation we're in, maybe you can reduce our salaries for a month or two. But then we want to get bumped back up after 2 months. And then they're happy about that. So it was their idea, it was their decision. Where if you just did that, you would be viewed as this mean, abusive, authoritarian boss. Instead, the employees came up with the same solution on their own, and everything's going well, and morale is fine. Benchmark item number 57. Our go-getters are provided autonomy and leadership opportunities. A lot of times I'll speak with managers and they'll say, ethics means I treat everybody the same way. And that's not correct. Ethics is you treat people the way that they deserve to be treated, and a lot of times it depends upon what they've earned. So I typically use a model, and it's in the book, go-getters, fence-sitters, and oppositional people. In the ideal world, you've hired all go-getters. That's fantastic. We don't live in the ideal world, and you probably have a handful of go-getters. You might have a bunch of fence-sitters, and you might have a handful of adversarial employees. Go-getters, they love to come to work. They want responsibility. They want to run the show. They just tell me what to do and leave me alone and check in on me on Friday, and everything is done well. Fence-sitters, good production, but they only do what you expect of them to do. So if you expect for them to do 10 widgets, they'll do 10 widgets. They won't do 11 because you only told them to do 10. So whatever you tell them to do, that's what they do. Which is great because you set the goal of 10, but they're not your leaders. They take orders, and for them, work is work. You go to work, you put in your time, and that's it. Where the go-getters, they live to work. They just love to work. Oppositional people at work, we all know who they are. I'll visit an organization, I'll say, so who here is an oppositional worker? And typically, immediately, they can say, Tom and Mary. They just know because they're always in a bad mood. No matter which, if you say do X, they say no, I'd rather do Y. You tell them to do Y, they say no, I'd rather do X. It doesn't matter. They just like to get in your face. They like to cause problems. And they thrive on that. So the mistake that many managers make will be, if I have to treat all my workers the same, I'm going to focus in on the adversarial employees, and I'm going to tell everybody, you have to punch in at 9 and punch out at 5. Meanwhile, the go-getters show up at 8. And then they're saying, why are you making me punch in? I don't deserve that. So if you set the standard based upon what is necessary to control the adversarial employees, the go-getters get upset because they don't want to be treated like an adversarial employee, and then they quit. So just the opposite happens. And you don't want to treat the adversarials the same way you treat the go-getters. The go-getters, you want to give them a lot of freedom and autonomy. You don't want to give the adversarial employees freedom and autonomy because they're going to abuse it. So back to this benchmark, our go-getters are provided autonomy and leadership opportunities because that's what they thrive on. And you ask them what kind of leadership opportunities they want. Don't assume you know what kind of leadership opportunities they want. Just ask them, and they can tell you. Benchmark item 58. Our managers continually increase work expectations for fence-sitters. So as I mentioned, fence-sitters is the second kind of employee that you have. They put in a good day's work, but they don't go beyond that. So to motivate the fence-sitters, you just keep on raising expectations. If it's 10 widgets are due on Monday and they do it, on Tuesday say, hey, how about 11? And they'll do that, and then raise it to 12. So you just continually raise expectations on the fence-sitters, and they'll match it. And if it turns out that expectations are too high, they'll tell you, I can't do that. So you want to be able to match the expectations that you have and to inspire the fence-sitters to keep on, once again, everything is continuous improvement, so to continuously improve their productivity. Benchmark item number 59. Our adversarial employees are confronted by managers and plans are developed for changing behaviors. If you don't approach the adversarial employees, they just have a field day and they're getting away with everything. The adversarial employees tend to be leaders, but they lead the employees in the wrong direction. And adversarial employees are typically looking for followers, and the go-getters want nothing to do with the adversarial employees. So the adversarial employees look at the fence-sitters, and they try to persuade the fence-sitters to misbehave at work. So if you're the boss, you want to make sure that your fence-sitters and your adversarials are not getting together. And then you need to tell the adversarial employee, you're misbehaving at work. I don't appreciate what you're doing. I see what you're doing. I see you're goofing off during the day, and that's unacceptable behavior. And you need to change. You need to change, and I'm willing to work with you. And then you need to give them a deadline. And you have to say, 30 days, 60 days, whatever makes sense. In 30 days, I expect the following behavioral change. And if you can't do that, then you're better off looking for a job somewhere else. And at that point, the adversarials, if they really want the job, they'll change. Otherwise, they'll leave. And that's great that they leave. So they need to be challenged. I end up consulting and counseling adversarial employees every now and then. And the one thing about adversarial employees is that they have good leadership potential, but they're leading people in the wrong direction. And my experience with adversarial employees is typically they're anti-authority, and typically, not everyone, but typically at a young age in their lives, they had a very bad experience with somebody in authority. And that created a cynicism and sarcasm in them that you just don't trust anybody in authority at all. So that takes one-on-one counseling. And I've counseled people through that, and they really, really do appreciate that. But sometimes people have life experiences they just can't get over. And if that's the case, you say, I can put in so much time counseling the adversarial employees, but if they don't change by X date, then I need to replace the person. And that's just the way that life is. Benchmark item number 60. Team members are trained in group dynamics and collective problem-solving techniques. A lot of organizations have teams, and teams are great because there are a lot of diversity of thought, diversity of experiences. Oftentimes we put people in teams and we just assume that teams know how to behave. And instead, what this benchmark is saying is that you're taking team members aside and you're saying there are best practices for teams, and we're going to review those best practices. We're going to evaluate those best practices. A simple one. Everybody on the team shows up for the meeting on time. If you don't start the meeting on time, and if you wait for people, then you're punishing the good behavior of people because they say, I showed up on time and the meeting never starts on time. Why should I bother to start on time? So you just want to be real clear that, hey, I don't care who the person is, even if it's the boss. If the meeting starts at 12, we're going to start at 12. And if the boss shows up, of course, we're going to get the boss up to speed. But if the person's not a boss, we may not bring that person up to speed because they're late. Benchmark item number 61. Our employees are provided with key data, including financial information relevant to improving work unit performance. So now we're more in the empowering stage. So what you're doing with your employees is you're saying, we can measure your work performance. Here's some data that's related to your work performance. What do you think about this data? Can you use this information in a way that improves the way that your work is organized? And here's the financing for our organization. Right now, revenues are fantastic. And look at our budget numbers. We're putting a lot of money into marketing because we want to expand market revenue. And the employee, even though they may not be involved in marketing, it gives them a greater sense that they're an active and appreciated member of the community. So you do want to share information, financial and decision-making, with the employees and getting their input. So that means doing open book management. Open book management is a fantastic best practice. Organizations that do that, of course, you can do it poorly or you can do it well, but doing it well means you train the employees to know what the financial numbers mean. Otherwise, why are you wasting my time? Now, I don't understand assets and liabilities. So you have to teach them, this is an asset, this is a liability, this is why it's important. And then the employee feels more deeply involved as a team member in this community we call the organization. Benchmark item number 62. Appreciative inquiry techniques are used to address organizational issues. Appreciative inquiry, that's a whole nother class that you can do on it, but in a brief, you're looking at what people do best. So let's say the organization is struggling in terms of relationship with customers. You're basically asking the employees, think of a time when you were a customer and you were treated well by somebody. Think of a time that you observed somebody at work treating a customer well. Let's tell stories about these situations. And then let's take these stories and can we expand on these stories and can we put in place structures and processes so that these stories happen more often. So that's appreciative inquiry. We appreciate high quality. This is how we get it. Item number 63. At the end of the day, our employees reflect on their daily performance and develop plans for the following day. You want to end the day on a good note, not on a bad note. So what organizations, this is called TQM in a very, very brief time. So let's say if the workday is from 8 to 5. At 4:45, have all the employees stop work, put them on teams that they work with, and go round robin in the circle. And each person begins by saying, this is something that happened today that worked well. So you once again always begin on the positive. And everybody shares a positive experience. And that just reinforces that we do have positive experiences at work every day, no matter how many things might go wrong. Then they share something that went wrong in the day. Oh, today we were waiting for the camera to be delivered by the supplier, and once again it didn't arrive. And then when you share that in your work team, somebody might say, oh, you didn't know that? I think I saw the camera in the mailroom. I'm sorry we didn't tell you about that. So nobody thought of telling the person that because everybody was busy with their workday. But by the employees sharing that was their frustration, others on the team might be more sensitive to that and say, oh, here's how I can handle it. Or somebody else can say, you know what? I have a camera at home. Tomorrow I'll bring it to work with me. And you can use my camera in case your camera's not working. And the nice thing about this is that the worker goes home at the end of the day with hope that tomorrow will be a better day. Item number 64. Our employees elicit and review suggestions for improved work unit performance and have the authority within reason to make changes as needed. This kind of a management system is often referred to as a Scanlon plan. And back in 1996, I wrote an entire book about participatory democracy workshops and Scanlon plans. And it's 6 case studies of two companies that did fantastic with Scanlon plans, 2 that did terrible with Scanlon plans, and 2 that had modest success. And with those 6 companies, I looked at how they were different. The nice thing about Scanlon plans is you put everybody on a team, which is nice for team building, and you're asking everybody on the team, provide suggestions on how we can improve efficiency and effectiveness in the organization. And they're written suggestions. So you're telling everybody your input is essential. People provide you with those suggestions, and then the team looks at those suggestions, and then the team is given a budget, say typically $1,000 a month. And that team has the freedom to implement anything they want as long as it's within $1,000, and everybody on the team agrees on doing that. So that's a total empowerment for the team. On top of that, you measure performance, and if you improve performance, the team or the company, all the employees get a financial bonus. So I've done, even at Edgewood College, I've run a Scanlon plan without people even knowing it for the Green Committee. So I co-chair the Green Committee, and we wanted to reduce energy use. So we created our own little Scanlon plan, and I sent an email to all of the faculty and staff. We want to reduce energy use at Edgewood College. I got the numbers. I knew what all of our utility bills were, and the natural gas bills and the electricity bills and the water bills. So we had that as a benchmark. And I shared that information with everybody. And we said, can we do better from this? If, let's say, hypothetically, our electricity bills were $20,000 for the month of June, can we reduce this below $20,000? And everybody gets excited about that. It's contest, it's competition. Yeah, we can do better. And let's say we get it down to $15,000. That's a $5,000 difference. Who should get that money? Under a Scanlon plan, you split it. The organization gets $2,500. The other $2,500 goes in a budget that the employees can play with. And they can use that as a bonus. They can use that for pizza parties because it's money that the organization never would have had if they didn't reduce the energy cost. So Scanlon plans are fantastic. They're sometimes referred to just as gain sharing plans, and they're worth looking into. And you can check out my book on Scanlon plans and workplace democracy. Last item is number 65 for this chapter. Our employees share in the profits they help to generate. This means profit sharing, stock options, ESOPs, worker cooperatives. All of this financial sharing creates a sense that everybody in the organization is an owner. It does matter when employees realize they're going to get part of the profits. And if you've done your management well, you can tell your employee, here's how your work impacts our profits. And then they can work on it, they can improve on that. And then they begin acting like owners. They say, hey, and let's say if they see somebody's wasting electricity, using that gain sharing example, let's say they notice that nobody ever turns off the lights when nobody's in the offices. And they say, hey, that impacts the organizational profits. We're wasting all this electricity cost. Don't do that. And because they have a piece of the pie and the profit, people become a little bit more bold, and they overcome their shyness and their sensitivity of imposing themselves on others. And they say, hey, your lights left on all day in an empty office impacts my pay this week. So I'm going to go into your office and I'm going to turn out your lights if you're not there. And it creates an entirely different framework and sentiment at work. And everybody feels as though they're part of the team. So those are the benchmarks for chapter number 10.